Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another wrestling video, review, however you want to call it. And this is my slow, gradual journey through each of the WWF pay-per-views, starting from the War to Settle the Score up to the future. So, 1991, first pay-per-view of this Royal Rumbles I always enjoy. Well, I don't know about always, but a lot of times I enjoy the actual Royal Rumble itself. And a lot of times it's the only good thing about the actual whole pay-per-view. But in this one, Ultimate Warrior has been champion for the year, although looking back on it, they didn't really give him much for villains. I mean, SummerSlam, it was the year before, it was Ravishing Rick Rude, which Ultimate Warrior already dealt with as the Intercontinental Champion. And it's like, well, why don't you give him, like, build up some villains for him to fight? I mean, they did with Hulk Hogan, who wasn't even the champion. And they did a great job with that because he had Earthquake, which was a worthy villain for Hulk Hogan. But they didn't really have anybody new for Ultimate Warrior. I mean, so that doesn't really help. But he has a match here with Sgt Slaughter, which I'll get to. Gorilla Monsoon and Roddy Piper do the commentary. Pretty decent. Miss Roddy Piper a lot. The national anthem gets sung, and then we have our first match, which I actually enjoyed this match. It's the Rockers, Shawn Michaels, and Marty Jannetty versus the Orient Express. Great opening match. It was fast-paced. Really good aerial moves and backflips and so forth. The Rockers win. So one of the few pay-per-views that they did win. But yeah, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty worked well together as a team. They were a good tag team. Nice to see them win for a change. Again, just very fast-paced, a lot of good moves. Working with a good team, the Orient Express, at least technical-wise. So yeah, fun match to begin with. Then you have the Macho Man Randy Savage, which at this time I believe he was the Macho King. He has an interview where he's got a commitment from Sgt Slaughter that if Slaughter wins the match, then he'll offer Macho a chance to fight Sgt Slaughter to be the champion. And so his manager, Sensational Sherry, goes up to Warrior and says, would you also commit to fighting the Macho Man after your match with the Sgt Slaughter so that Macho could have the chance? And like Sherry, Sensational Sherry's like trying to seduce the Warrior. Actually gets on her knees, rubbing his thighs, ready to, pretty much. And Warrior's like, no! Maybe because who knows what she's got or who she's been with or all sorts of stuff. And Macho gets pissed, and that'll lead to something later on in this. But the Big Boss Man, I've said this a couple times, more than a couple times in my previous videos. Big fan of the Big Boss Man. It'll never happen, but it would have been nice to see like a Big Boss Man DVD. Idea it'll never happen because for WWF he wasn't popular enough to do that. I'm sure to them it'd be like doing a DVD of Tatanka, even though I think Big Boss Man, I like him a lot more than Tatanka. I'm sure people don't even know what the fuck Tatanka is, but I remember him. But Big Boss Man fights the Barbarian. And someone was nice enough to mention one of the past wrestling videos. I was like, who the hell is the Powers of Pain? And it was the Barbarian, the Warlord. They were the Powers of Pain. And when they separated, they became these characters. So Big Boss Man, to sort of build him up as a good guy, faces the Barbarian. I liked it. Fun match. I liked that the Big Boss Man did sort of a few wrestlers have done this. The one that I remember the most is Mick Foley, aka Mankind, where you clothesline someone and you both go over the top rope onto the ground. And it was, I don't remember a lot of people doing it back then. Maybe a lot of other wrestling programs had it. But when I'm watching these older WWF, I didn't see a lot of people do that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing that Mick Foley does, and a few wrestlers after that. But it was nice that Big Boss Man did sort of the clothesline with the Barbarian. They both go over the top rope. That was a nice spot. And just a fun little match. Big Boss Man wins. You know, I was entertained by it. So far I'm liking this. I like Rogers versus Orient Express. I like the Big Boss Man match because I'm a fan of him. Then you get the Sgt Slaughter versus Warrior. And there was some fun. Pretty much the Warrior was kicking Sgt Slaughter's ass after clotheslining him. And pretty much at this point I should explain that Sgt Slaughter was a good guy. I mean, hell, he was in G.I. Joe, the animated movie. He was the voice. And he was a good guy for a long time. But then, because of the first Gulf War, WWF and Vince McMahon thought, hey, let's have Sgt Slaughter be a traitor. He'll be a big bad guy. And so everyone hated him. I know Sgt Slaughter, in later interviews, we talked about how he got death threats. There were bomb threats. I mean, so people really took it to heart when Sgt Slaughter was a bad guy. The traitor to the country. And so he was carrying, like, he loves Saddam Hussein, was carrying the flag of Saddam Hussein's country, and Warrior took it and broke it and did clotheslining and kicking Sgt Slaughter's ass. But Sensational Sherry comes out, makes the Warrior chaser. Macho Man Randy Savage is there, sucker punches and hits him with this nearby light. And pretty much Warrior gets back to the ring. And Macho hits Warrior with this scepter, because at that time, the reason he was called the Macho King was because he won, I believe he won the King of the Ring. And I'm not sure what program that was that he won the King of the Ring. I could be wrong, but I believe that's why he was called Macho King. And took the scepter, smashed in the Warrior's head, so knocked him out. Sgt Slaughter won. This is one of the early times I heard the crowd actually say, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. I mean, it wasn't, I don't know if that was really a typical thing in 1991. I mean, nowadays, yeah. In the Attitude Era, yeah, but, you know, you watch, it's like, people literally say, bullshit, bullshit. So, I mean, that was done because I guess looking at WWF at the time, they thought Ultimate Warrior didn't work out as well as they thought as the champion, which I'm thinking, you didn't really give him many people to fight. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, who did you really get to fight? I mean, you know, I mean, Ravishing Rick Rude, again, he fought him an Intercontinental belt, you know, years ago. It's just a repeat. And I don't even remember who else Ultimate Warrior fought at that time, because I think it was after this that Ultimate Warrior would have some fights with maybe Andre the Giant. Well, Andre the Giant, I think that was when he was years before too, so I don't know. I guess they thought, well, let's get the #1 hero of the WWF, Hulk Hogan. What do I have him fight Sgt Slaughter at WrestleMania, and then now get the buy rates in, you know, the ultimate American hero versus the traitor to the country. So they thought, nah, let's not have Ultimate Warrior do that, which I'm thinking, this would be a good build-up for your new hero, because who knows how long Hogan's going to be there, which ended up being true, because he was there for like another year or two, and then he pretty much left. So I'm like, why don't you build Ultimate Warrior up even more? This would be a big program. Him being, you know, give him a new villain. New villains, like you did with Hulk Hogan. You gave him King Kong Bundy. You gave him Andre the Giant. Roddy Piper. Macho Man Randy Savage. You didn't do that with Ultimate Warrior. And then, nah, let's just give it back to Hulk Hogan, which it will be, because Hulk Hogan is going to get his belt at WrestleMania 7. which I think that's the next pay-per-view, and you'll hear my thoughts on that. But, okay, they wanted the #1 American hero, Hulk Hogan, the guy. Okay, I don't hate Hulk Hogan. I know sometimes it sounds like I do hate Hulk Hogan. I don't. I definitely liked him as a kid. And I liked him as a character. I do like him as a character. I do. I know I said that like 5 times. It's just, as I'm older, I see some of the politics behind the scenes. It's kind of like, But, still, he's a hell of a lot better than John Cena. I think he has charisma, great promos, interviews, and works very well with the crowd. And I still like Hulk Hogan. So I'm like, okay. And it did lead to the Ultimate Warrior having a match with Macho Man, which is actually one of my favorite matches in WrestleMania 7. Probably my favorite match with Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior. It's a great match, and I'll get into that next time. But, yeah, Sgt Slaughter beats Warrior because Macho Man fucked him up. And then later on in the program, Hogan is being interviewed, and Mean Gene Oker's like, oh my god, I just heard this is maybe a rumor, but Sgt Slaughter has defaced the American flag. And Hogan's like, I will go there, I will, pretty much that, I'm going to fight Sgt Slaughter, not only for the belt, but for America, hoorah, fuck yeah, that sort of thing. But before I get to the Royal Rumble itself, you also have Mountie versus Koko B. Ware. Nothing match. I've said this so many times. When Koko B. Ware's there, he's going to lose. And he does. It's just to set up the Mountie. And the Mountie was a guy who was a Canadian character. And I remember he beat Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. And then Roddy Piper would fight him, and that'd be the only time Roddy Piper got to win the championship, was beating the Mountie, which then led to WrestleMania where Roddy Piper was fighting Bret Hart, and Bret Hart won the championship back. So it was building the Mountie up as a bad guy, so let's feed him Koko B. Ware. Mountie wins, nothing match. $1 Million Man and Virgil versus Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. Not much of a match. $1 Million Man wins. Really, it was there for the ending, which the Virgil, who has been $1 Million Man's chauffeur, and let's be honest, his slave. That's what they're going for. His slave that he pays. And Virgil breaks away, punches $1 Million Man, and walks away. And that's what it was really about. I mean, Dustin Rhodes, they were just there to lose. I mean, like I said, Dusty Rhodes, I like Dusty Rhodes. I miss the guy. I think he could be used a lot better in WWF. I mean, not only with the polka dot theme, but I don't think they used him as well as they could have. Because the guy had a lot of talent behind the mic, and he was a pretty good wrestler as well for his size. So, yeah, it was a nothing match. And you get the Royal Rumble, and the Royal Rumble is fun. Bret the Hitman Hart and Dino Bravo are the first two. Hogan wins for the second year in the row, the Royal Rumble. He won last year, and he wins this year. I think he threw out about 6-7 people. Earthquake was the last to go. I'm not sure if that was the last time Hulk Hogan dealt with Earthquake, and there might have been one more time, but because now Hogan's going to go off and fight Sgt Slaughter. So this, or maybe some other stuff, was sort of his final win against Earthquake to finish that off. There might have been a couple house shows or so forth. The other thing I remember is, of course, Undertaker debuted at Survivor Series. This was the first time The Undertaker was at the Royal Rumble. And when the Legion of Doom took him out, got a huge reaction. Got a huge reaction. And I'm not going to go into all the details of the Royal Rumble because it's hard to do that. This person, here, this was the second, this was the third. I would say if you can find it online to watch, just watch it. They're fun to watch. It's just because there's so many people, especially in this time in the talent pool. I mean, Hulk Hogan, Earthquake, you have people like Roddy Piper, you have people like, well, not Roddy Piper, he was on commentary, but, oh yeah, Macho Man, he didn't come out. He was supposed to come out, but he didn't. And that's because the idea is that the Ultimate Warrior chased Macho Man out of the building because Macho cost him the belt. And just go watch it for yourself. I'm not going to go into every single detail of the Royal Rumble. It was, again, a lot of times they're fun. Hulk Hogan, I guess, I'm not repeating myself, he wins again for the second time. And overall, this was a fun Royal Rumble. I mean, there wasn't really much bad stuff to this. Great opening match with the Rockers. Fun match with the Big Boss Man. I enjoy the guy. Sgt Slaughter, the Warrior, I like the beginning of it, but really it just was so that Macho Man could get involved. Warrior loses it so that then they have the match at WrestleMania 7. And so that Sgt Slaughter has the belt, so now Hulk Hogan will be the hero and get the belt back for America. America. WrestleMania 7. Which, you know, I'm fine with being patriotic. I'm American. But, you know, some people will say, and I can understand the reason, that it's a bit over the top and is it really right to use, you know, a real life conflict like the Gulf War where people are dying for your storyline of wrestling, which of course we all know is fake. But I think it's just like when movies, they do that, people are like, is that really the right thing to do? That's your call. That's not my call on it. With WWF, I just don't take it too seriously because it is WWF. I mean, this is a time where in a couple of years we're going to have people like the Repo Man and Mantar and Doink the Clown. So, in like 2-3 years after this. But, yeah, some fun matches. Mountie versus Koko B, Ware, and $1 Million Man Virgil versus Dustin Rhodes. I think this is one of the last ones Dusty Rhodes was a part of. I'm not sure what was the exact last one, but I think this is one of the last big ones he was involved with. So, kind of a, if that's the case, kind of a whimper for Dusty Rhodes and WWF. But still, couple good matches, fun Royal Rumble. I would say I enjoyed this one. Just a lot of, again, this was a good time talent-wise. There's a lot of people involved. So, still a good one. Thumbs up. But the next time I talk about the Royal Rumble, that Royal Rumble in 1992 is it's definitely one of my favorite Royal Rumbles. I'll mention why when I get to it, but that's definitely a classic one. But this was still a very fun one. Either way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you next time. Later.